In this episode, you'll hear how Sam's breeding journey has evolved to fit her lifestyle, leading her from Labradors to Cocker Spaniels and Cockapoos. We dive into the realities of responsible breeding, from the chaos of unexpected whelping surprises and the challenges of tube feeding a struggling newborn, to the search for the right stud dogs and managing owner expectations. If you ever want a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to raise a well-bred, well-prepared puppies, this episode you won't want to miss. Welcome to The Breeder's Brew, the dog breeding podcast hosted by myself, Sara, the canine family planner,
and me, Isabel, the canine nutrition coach.
We're promoting responsible breeding by unpicking the minefield of breeding myths and methods for owners wishing to expand their whelping wisdom. Welcome back to another episode of my annual Breeder Awards sort of mini-series stroke informal conversations with some of the finalists and winners. I'm pleased to introduce on the podcast today Sam Chamberlain, who was the winner of the Top Puppy Parent Award, and she was also a finalist of the Breeder Excellence Award. So a double finalist and a winner. Welcome to the podcast, Sam.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, so Sam, I'm going to do the usual drill that I've done with everybody. It would be great for you just to introduce yourself, what breeds you've got, what you breed, and just how you've managed to fall into dog breeding and dog ownership.
Okay. I have always grown up with dogs. I got my first dog when I left home. So I've been breeding for 13 years. I started off doing Labradors for about 10, 11 years, and I now breed Cocker Spaniels, show puppies, and Cockapoo puppies.
What breed did you have as a kid when you were younger?
What did I have? Mostly they were mixed breeds that we rescued, but I did have Labradors as well when I was younger, which is probably why I got a Labrador when I left home.
And that was your first dog?
It was a Labrador, yeah.
What was the transition from going from I'm a dog owner to I'm going to decide to breed one of my dogs and then sign up to a lifetime of misery with dog breeding?
So really, I don't know why. I think because I'd had both of my girls and they were at a young age, and I knew a couple of other people that were breeding, and I just brought a Labrador bitch puppy, and I thought actually I'll get health tests and that done and see how that goes. And then, one thing led to the other. Health tests were all good. So I decided to try, really. So that was a bit of a learning curve, first litter. And then it's a bit like having a baby. You then forget the stress you go through. So, do it again. And then one year leads. Yeah, exactly.
That story doesn't seem unfamiliar, to be honest. I think there's quite a lot of people, they never went, when I'm older, I'm going to breed dogs. They just sort of fell into it. And I think particularly Sue said the same with the Labrador. She said, we just did the health testing and then it all just sort of snowballed from there because there wasn't any barriers to stop us. We'd met all the responsible breeding aspects and traits that we needed to by health testing, whether that be like hips and elbows, x-rays, whether that be DNA swabs, whether that be eye tests, heart tests, whatever it might be. And then, once you pass all the checks, then there's literally nothing stopping you, is there? So then you just go, well, let's give it a go. How did you find your first litter then?
It was relatively straightforward, but obviously first time breeding, there's a lot of things that you read that you should look for, which I was doing. I was doing like temperatures, and there was no temperature drop, and she wasn't going off the food, and, all the signs that they say you should look for, I looked for, and she had none of those. So I went to bed, and at about 3:00 in the morning, I could hear squeaking, and I've gone downstairs and she had 3 puppies already. And then all hell broke loose because I was having a right old paddy on. And then she had one more. And then, after that, it was relatively plain sailing.
Those 3 pups, were they out of sack? Has she done her job?
Yes, they were out of sack, laying all over the room that she was in. None of them in the whelping box. Yeah, it was horrendous.
Scattered them around like hide and seek.
Yeah, she obviously didn't know what she was doing. Luckily enough, they were all absolutely fine. But panic stations.
And how many did she have in total?
She had 4 in total.
Or in total. Did you scan back then or not? Or what was you expecting?
I did scan, but it was literally just a scan to say she was pregnant.
Right.
So, yeah, not like going to you and getting an accurate number and date and things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're expecting pups, and let's see what happens. And it's, as you say, the temperature drop is always quite a hard one to catch. It is, I think, sort of mixed opinions about that even to this day, whether people catch it enough or not. And yeah, if you're relying on a lab to go off their food,
yeah, I know exactly, but hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you learn as you go. Yeah,
exactly.
For sure. So moving on to current day, so why did you decide on the switch from the Labradors into your
only
and
purely
cockapoos?
Because we moved, and where we moved to wasn't as big as our previous place, and I'd already had a cockapoo who I'd brought that I was not going to breed from, but you think, oh well, same thing, we do the health testing, that was all good. So I thought, oh, do you know what, I'll just do 1 litter, see how that goes. And the difference between a Labrador puppy and a cockapoo / Cocker Spaniel puppy is completely different. It was a lot easier in the respect of, as they got bigger, everything else didn't get as big.
Yeah.
The mess wasn't so horrendous. And yeah, I just slowly went over to just the smaller dogs, really, just because we had less space here. So therefore a smaller dog was a lot easier to manage.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And that in itself makes it more enjoyable for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Think, well, actually, yeah, no, there's no point doing something you don't enjoy. And I think it's interesting because you can just fall into a breed, and then it's not until you start looking around, a bit no different to me with the Bulldogs. That's just happened. It was just, that's the breed I was with. That's what I'm going to breed. And we went from there. And obviously, as you know, I then went and got a Labrador, and I love my lab. But yeah, I still enjoy breeding the Bulldog. So I tried it and I was like, this is cool. But you know what? I quite like my Bulldog. So you have to try different to know whether what you like is what you like, or do you need to take a new path or not? And say for you, you took that new path. Yeah. So how do you find your stud dogs? Because obviously you've been in a Labrador so long, sometimes stuff feels so familiar. It's easy, isn't it? But when you're starting again in a new breed,
it's so hard. A lot of the time, just joining different groups on social media, Facebook, having a look on good old Pets for Homes, which is a minefield. I was quite lucky that I've asked you as well for recommendations. It is quite hard, but I've been lucky enough to find a good stud dog with miniature poodles.
Yeah.
But last year I did my first Cocker Spaniel litter, so I had to find a Cocker Spaniel stud. Again, that was quite hard. It's quite easy to find a stud dog. It's quite hard to find a stud dog with all health tests.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not the first to say that. So, yeah.
So, yeah, that's quite hard. So it's just a lot of speaking to people, going on the kennel club, trying to see what health tests are on the kennel club. It's quite hard.
Yeah, doing a lot of research, looking around. And I think it's one of those, when you find a good stud owner that's doing all the things right, you kind of hope that they have more than one stud dog so you can return. Because once you've built that trust with somebody, it seems crazy to make your life difficult and go somewhere else. People will happily just go back to somebody that's got a good stud dog.
Absolutely.
But, slightly different bloodline, or, however many generations apart or whatever, which I don't think enough people do. And then you say you're on the stud search again and it starts all over again.
Yeah, it's very, very hard.
So in regards to your puppies and your award being top puppy parent, I just want to talk a little bit more about the pups themselves. Obviously, we all hope that pups are born, they're all strong, they all latch on, and then they grow at the rate of knots, and then 8 weeks fly by and off they go out the door and it was all done and dusted, but that's not always the case. So I know that you had quite a difficult puppy that you sort of had to tube feed. So I don't know if you just want to talk through how it got to that point and why you decided that was like the best option, I suppose, for that puppy.
Okay, so last year I had my first Cocker Spaniel litter. It was straightforward delivery. All pups were pretty much the same size. And they were all putting on loads of weight. I mean, Mum must have like mega milk because they were putting on lots and lots of weight. But after probably 5 days, one of the pups didn't put on anything. I do weigh them daily for the first 7 to 10 days, and one of the pups hadn't put on anything. I wasn't overly concerned because he had put on a lot of weight the previous day. So I just monitored him. And then the next day, he still hadn't put on any. And then the day after, he started dropping weight and was starting to get a bit lethargic. So I decided to step in and tube feed. And it took I wasn't tube feeding religiously. Every time I was with the pups, I would put him back on mum, and he was feeding fine. And I was checking his sucking reflex, and he was sucking fine. He felt a bit cold, so I moved the heat mat up on top of the vet bed, and I was laying him directly on that, even though it was quite warm. I was probably tube feeding him 3 times a day. And then the rest of the time, he would be on mum 3-4 times a day to start off with. And yeah, he slowly started to put on weight. I was still doing the odd tube feed for probably about a week. And then by then, he come off of that. And yeah, he totally caught up with all the others, and he was fine.
What do you think the reason? Why do you think he...
I think he just got too cold. So the room that they whelp in is open, so even though they had a heater in there and they had a heat mat in there, I don't know, I just think he got too cold. I just think he got too cold for whatever reason, and that just stopped him from feeding.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because there was no other signs, as in when I was tube feeding him, and he, it took a bit of time, but he did start putting it back on, and he did catch up with the others, so there was no other physical signs as to why he would have stopped feeding.
Was you anxious about tube feeding for the first time because you'd never done it before?
Yes.
So a question I've got is, did you already have the equipment in, and how did you know to do it correctly?
I did, because the year previous, I had a cockapoo puppy who wasn't feeding on anything. So I'd gone into the vets after about a week and said, you need to show me how to tube feed because this puppy's going to die. So the year previous was the first time I learned how to tube feed. Luckily enough, my youngest daughter actually works in my vets on a Saturday. So she was with me when they were showing us. So she was my helper. So because of that, the vets gave me some tube and some milk while I was there. So because of that experience, I then obviously made sure that I've always got spares at home now. Because the trouble is, when you've got to do tube feeding or bottle feeding or whatever, it's normally you haven't got anything there. You decide I've got to do it, but you haven't got anything on standby to do it. So yeah, so that's just another lesson learned, that just to be prepared and just have everything there ready, just in case.
What did you do? Was it a diluted milk, or did you just do a milk formula in? And how did you know how much to give?
So luckily enough, the vets had given me a complete breakdown of how much I needed to give, and they gave me a formula that I just needed to mix up. So I would mix up like a day's worth and leave it in the fridge so that when it was feeding time, I could just get out the correct amount and tube feed. But yeah, it is very scary first few times that you do it, but yeah, haven't really got a choice. You either do that or your puppy dies. So you sort of have to get over that. But yeah.
You always say to people you're doing it for the puppy's best interest. And
yeah, exactly.
Obviously the classic one that everyone's always worried about is that you go into the lungs and you flood the lungs with milk rather than putting the milk into the stomach.
I'd watched a few videos, and I found quite a good video that said that once you put the tube in, if you squeeze one of their paws and if they make a sound, then you've got the tube in the right place, because they won't make a sound if it's gone into their lungs.
I've not heard that before.
So that was actually a really good tip.
Most vets wouldn't have had that kind of stuff in stock for you to take. They just would have gone, well, this is what you need, you're going to have to go and buy it, and off you go.
Yeah, I was very lucky. My vets are very good.
Good. Well, it makes a change.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Because finding breeder-friendly vets can be really difficult, so you're definitely in a fortunate position there. What I hear a lot in certain breeds is that you'll have someone that's bred for 15, 20 years, and they're kind of boastful, is this to say, I've never lost a puppy.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
obviously we do our best prep into making sure that mum's in good condition.
Yeah.
You pick a good stud, everyone's healthy. Like, we're always doing our best to ensure that we do get good puppies, but you can just have a bad run of a bad litter or a weak
Absolutely.
puppy. And it's no reflection on you. It's just the card that you've been dealt.
Yeah.
So it always makes me wince a little bit when you get people go, oh, I've never lost a puppy. So it doesn't mean anything. That you literally... And it depends what breed you're in. Trust me, if you can keep bulldog pups alive, then you've done an amazing job compared to the average litter, because they're just difficult.
I mean, I just always say, I've been doing it 13 years, and every single litter I have, something new will happen. Every single time, without fail, there's always something different happens. So although I might have been doing it for 13 years, still new things crop up all the time. You know, silly little things, big things. You know, to say that, you know, you've never lost a puppy, well, I just wouldn't believe that.
Yeah, selective memory, I think they must
exactly.
have. I think you've got a growth mindset. So every new challenge that you get, you're thinking, right, why did that happen? How do I stop it happening again? How do I fix the problem? So obviously you're just coming at it from a different perspective than some people. And I remember once I went to the vet and all the pups, their guts had been born all on the outside. And anyway, the vets had shoved all the guts back in, stitched up the puppies, and he literally just handed them to me, went, good luck. Like, if anyone could do this, Sara, you could do it. So I'm like, okay, thank you. And I just thought, oh, this is going to be such hard work. And it was hard work, and it wasn't a happy ending. I basically said to the vet at this point, I'm bored of learning. I don't want to learn anything new. I just want to do this breeding and everything work and everything be easy. But like you've just highlighted, it doesn't happen. To be in this long term, you've got to go, okay, that was a problem, or that didn't work. How do I stop that happening again? Or how could I prevent it and move forward? So you have to learn continually to not do so.
Exactly.
What do you do in regards to your socialisation and how you rear puppies? Do you try and toilet train them?
So my last few litters of labs that I done, I started pellet training them, which actually went really, really well. I was very surprised. But generally, with the Cocker Spaniels and Cockapoos, I haven't really tried that because their mess isn't as big as a Labrador. It's not so much of an issue for me. So generally it's puppy pads, vet bedding, and if the weather's nice, then they definitely go outside. But for some reason, the last few years, I've been having puppies like over the winter period, and as everyone knows, that's been rubbish weather and rain and more rain.
The rain has been...
and more rain. So yeah, if I can get them outside, then they will definitely go outside. But yeah, not always the case.
Do they not rip up the puppy pads, or are they good?
No, I've started using, last few years, I've been using the washable ones.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, so that saves quite a lot. And obviously they're quite tough compared to the paper ones. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of, the washable ones. Yeah, I do really like them. Do you bath your dogs or anything before they go to their new homes? Isabel and I had a conversation about some of the coated breeds. I know some breeders are all for it, some aren't.
Not, unless they need to be.
Yeah.
So obviously you get some, especially obviously with the Cockapoos, you know, they can get in a bit of a mess around the bum region. But generally, no, like I say, unless I absolutely need to sort them out before they go. Yeah.
That's fair enough. How do you manage your puppy inquiries and viewings and all that kind of thing? What process do you find is the most streamlined and successful that works for you?
So I've got a website and I've got a Facebook page, and generally I don't have a waiting list open all year round purely because of the amount of time wasters that you get. And so generally I tell everybody that inquires that once a pregnancy has been confirmed, I will open up the waiting list. So that obviously goes out on social media and on my website blog. And then anyone that inquires, I will send out a puppy application form. And then obviously I will go through that. Then depending, I do have two forms of waiting list. So I have a general waiting list, and then I've got a waiting list where they can pay me part deposit, which will get them more of a guaranteed place on the waiting list. And then depending on, once I've seen you, how many puppies I roughly know I'm going to have, I'll obviously keep a waiting list open depending on what I think, like. So if you tell me I've got 8 puppies due, I'll do like a 4 and 4. Generally,
Yeah.
I will know roughly what colours I'm going to have. So that sort of takes it out of the equation. So yeah, it'd be 4 girls, 4 boys type of thing.
Yeah, that's how it's quite similar to how I do the labs. How do you your website? Do you do it yourself, or do you pay a site master or whatever? Because I know one of your blogs went up quite quick from the ABA awards.
No, I do it myself.
Oh, okay. So who do you use? What do you do?
I've got just a Wix website. So my daughter does social media and things like that, so she helped me set it up. But yeah, it's pretty easy to manage yourself. So yeah, I do most of it myself.
That's good. I'm all for a website, and I think more breeders should have them. Would you say that's how you attract most of your people, or do you have other avenues as well?
I get a lot of it through the website. Obviously, I also become a registered breeder with the Cockapoo Club of Great Britain, and so my name and my website is on their website. So generally, a lot of people will go to the Cockapoo Club first and find a list of approved breeders and then come through to me from there. Because I've been obviously doing it for a few years, a lot of it is obviously word of mouth, social media. So yeah, so I'd say I get a big chunk from the Cockapoo side of things, but I also get a good chunk from my social media as well.
That's good. That's interesting. And so they leave a deposit, and then obviously, how do you keep them updated from when the pups are born?
So I set up a WhatsApp group. So everyone goes on a WhatsApp group, and I send out weekly updates and photos and videos. And obviously I put stuff up on social media and that, but obviously all my potential owners get all the information first before I put it out on social media.
Yeah, so they get the breaking news, this is what we're expecting, and that kind of thing, and then it goes to the wider people. Yeah. And what age do you do viewings? Do you do viewings? How do you manage all that?
Well, I normally do between 4 to 5 weeks, but generally I've started doing more towards the end of 5 weeks, really. 4 weeks, I try to go as long as possible, having all these people in my house, if I'm perfectly honest. So I generally go more towards 5 weeks. So I just think the puppies are just that bit bigger, and they do a bit more at 5 weeks than 4 weeks. So if I can hold people off until then, I generally do. And then do visits at 5 weeks.
And how do you structure those visits? Do you try and get everyone in on one day or one weekend, or do you give them a set amount of times?
I try. Last year did not work out like that at all. It was all in dribs and drabs, which was horrendous. I try and just do back to back just to get it all done. What I am thinking is I should actually do a video. And then sit down when they come in, or send it out to everyone beforehand. So I do all my spill so that I haven't got to keep repeating myself like 8 times a day.
Yeah, because you can say, watch this before you come, and then any questions that you then have, ask me, because you're, as you say, it's going to be specific to their situation then, and from the knowledge that you've already said to them. But yeah, I'm surprised you don't end up with like a hoarse voice.
I do, yeah.
I say with bulldog litters, because they tend to be smaller, it's not too bad. But yeah, when you've got big litters as well, that's a lot of people. Are you like, you can bring the kids, don't bring the kids? What's the situation? Because I know different breeders have different schools of thought on that.
Well, I generally seem to think that if you're going to take a puppy home and you've got kids, I need to see how the kids are acting around the puppies before you rehome a puppy. So generally, I say bring the kids, but they have to understand that, they can't touch a puppy, they can't pick up a puppy unless I say they can, and, they have to sit on the floor, just general common sense, really. But yeah, I do encourage them to bring. As much as I don't want them to, I do encourage them to bring their children.
Have you had to decline people? And if so, how have you done that? Because I think saying no to people can be quite difficult.
It is quite difficult, but generally I haven't had to say that, because you can really tell what people are like. You send out the puppy application form to people, and the amount of people that don't acknowledge it, don't fill it in, because it's about 4 or 5 pages long and they can't be bothered to fill it in. So straight away, that, you haven't sent a form in, then, you're not interested. So I think generally, out of all the people that have filled in a puppy application form, I don't really think I've had to send anyone away from that, because it's quite a thorough list of
that's
questions asked. In the past, I've probably let puppies go and sort of thought afterwards, should I have? But it is quite hard to turn someone away. I just think you just have to be honest, or if you can't be honest, just make up some reason why they shouldn't have one. Yeah. I mean, you're never going to see these people again, so, you know.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that you should go with your gut feeling. If something doesn't feel right, then just go with it. But equally, I know so many people find it really difficult to say no. In their head, I think they just go, well, I've got this puppy and it's looking for a home, and they are the home, so just let it happen. But I always believe, we probably need to learn some better ways to say no. But as you've rightly said, you've basically put in a barrier to entry, which is your vetting form. And I'm exactly the same. I absolutely love it, because that in itself vets out people that can't be bothered or probably wouldn't listen to you or not going to take on board your advice. Like, they've already just vetted themselves out the process.
Exactly.
So the people that do actually take the time to fill out a long-winded vetting form, and obviously sounds to me that you've got quite high engagement with your people once you know pups are going. So you're building that like long-term relationship with them, that you're picking up the signals of anything you wouldn't be happy with. And I think it works both ways, that they're then forced to get your updates because they should be interested in the puppy because it is exciting. And if you're not, then you're not the one. A lot of breeders would be like, oh, it seems a bit over formal to be sending out a vetting form. I've done it for decades now. And weirdly, some people love filling in a form.
Yeah.
Like, because my one's like open on my website. And actually it used to be, I've sort of hidden it a bit more now. But I used to just get people that just literally have filled out the form. We've not even had a conversation beforehand. They don't even know if I've got puppies.
Yeah,
like,
I'm the
there's
same.
a form.
Yeah, absolutely. I told someone last year that the form would open once a pregnancy has been confirmed. And I think this person went through, I don't know, about 2 years worth of blog to find a link that I hadn't taken down, and she filled it out and sent the puppy application form through. And I'm like, wow, you've gone through so many blogs to find that. I didn't even know where it was. It took me so long to try and find it. Yeah.
I've learned that one. But so those people, I think it's good because, as you say, they're showing willing and they want to prove to you why they're a suitable puppy owner.
Exactly.
And as soon as you've got people doing that, then it's an absolute game changer. So
yeah,
it's good.
exactly.
And then I'm assuming your pups go at 8 weeks old.
They do, yeah.
And what do you send them off with? What do you do in regards to paperwork and any sort of supporting paraphernalia?
So I used to print everything off, which was pages and pages, but I've stopped doing that now for about the last probably 3 years. So I do it all online. I put it into a zip file and send everything to the owners, contracts as well, so that can all be signed online. And so basically on collection day, they can just come pick up the puppy, and I'd send them away with a bit of vet bedding that they've been sleeping on. So they've got a bit of that because everyone seems to like that idea. And obviously food, toys, a few bits and pieces. But yeah, generally paperwork stuff. So they get copies of all the health certificates from mum and dad. They will get so much information, just so many different bits and pieces, and that, like I say, I just put it online. And if it's online as well, they've got something to refer back to whenever they want to. Whereas I think if you give out paperwork, half of it just goes in the bin and they probably don't even look at it.
Well, it just gets filed, won't it?
Yeah.
Like dog stuff, put in a folder and it disappears, and then everyone forgets it's even there.
Yeah.
So what's the most common question that you get asked after the puppy leaves for the new homes?
Probably the sleeping. I always tell everybody, like at viewings, that, you know, you might be very lucky and get a puppy that doesn't wake up at night, but the chances are you won't. And I'm a firm believer that I do not get up in the middle of the night to let these puppies out for a wee, because I try to explain to people, you do it now and then you're going to be doing it when it's a year, 18 months old. And to be consistent, and if you need to go to them, you know, no eye contact, make a noise, try and distract the puppy. But basically all you've got to do is ignore it, and within 3 or 4 days it will know that you're not coming down at night time.
It doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work.
So I would say probably the biggest question is, once I've taken them away, and I keep the WhatsApp group open as well for probably a year, the first year.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny watching all the comments come through. So I've got last year's cockapoo litter at the moment on the WhatsApp group. And honestly, every day there must be someone starting something, asking questions, which I sort of keep myself out of that as much as I can, because half the stuff I've already explained to them and they haven't taken any notice. So they can get on with it to a certain degree. But majority of that is the sleeping. But once you get the first week and that out of the way, you know, I always say to people, no, I don't sleep next to the puppies. And that, no, we won't do that. And then these on the WhatsApp group, it's all coming through saying, oh yeah, last night I slept on the sofa, or I slept on the floor next to the puppy, or the puppy's upstairs in the bed next to us. And yeah, it's like...
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of mixed information, I think, out there. And I think it probably does vary on what the breed is. You might do one thing for one type of breed and one for another. But I agree with you. I say to my people, I have never got up in the night. Once they're weaned and they're good to go, like, I'm not getting up in the night. I personally can't function on broken sleep. So I can have short windows of sleep, but if I'm getting up in between, I will probably end up killing someone. So I always say to my people, expect to wake up to a wee, possibly a poo.
Absolutely.
Deal with it until that puppy's bladder is big enough and his bowels are strong enough. That's what you're getting. Because I said, if you get up in the middle of the night, once that puppy's cried, you're now rewarding them for making a noise. So they're going to carry on making a noise. So I said, the only way for you to wake up to a clean pen and for that puppy not to cry is for you to proactively set your alarm before that puppy wakes to go down. So you now messing up your own sleep, because you're going to set up an alarm for in four hours' time to go down there to take... Why would you do that? You'd be crazy to then take the dog out for a week. So I say to people, just put up with it. They will make themselves clean once their bladder and bowels are big enough. They will do. It's like saying, I want a new baby, but I never want to change a nappy.
Exactly. Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. You get one and you get the other. So I think, the conversation has to be made quite clear. And then if they decide not to listen, they are making their lives more difficult. Yeah. But I think there is a lot of information out there about saying taking the crate up to you and having it in your bedroom. And so I understand why there's confusion. Yeah. But they should be listening to their breeder of that breed.
And I've always said to them, I've never, ever done that. Never. I mean, I just don't do that. I think one of the other questions I get asked quite a lot is as well, how long can I leave my puppy on its own for once I take a puppy home? And again, I very much believe that you can leave a puppy alone for a good few hours on its own, because the puppy's got to fit into your lifestyle, not the other way around. Like, you always get emails about 6 weeks before the summer holidays for all of these people that need to have a puppy when schools break up.
Yeah, okay.
And I adamantly say that's like the worst possible time to get a puppy, because you have all these people around this puppy for 6 weeks, and then everyone goes back to school and work and things, and then this poor puppy has got to be left on its own after all this time of being with people.
Yeah.
I always say, especially with cockapoos who can really suffer from separation anxiety, I always say from like day one of taking the puppies home, they need to start being left alone. You go to bed at night and you leave a puppy downstairs and wouldn't think anything of it. So why not get it used to it by leaving it on its own during the day? And I don't mean like a couple of hours, it could be like 10 minutes, it could be half an hour, it could be 2 hours. You just got to mix it up. It's just got to fit in with your lifestyle as it is.
Yeah, to me, any puppy should be able to be left up to 4 hours. To me, I wouldn't even bat an eyelid at that. And I say to them, well, realistically, you could leave them as long as you want. It's just the damage you're now going to come back to. Like, in reality, you can leave your dogs for as long as you want, but they will do damage after a certain amount of time because they are bored.
They're bored.
Yeah, that's for you to work out what that line is. And because if you're stimulating them and walking them beforehand, you watch whatever your routine is. For some dogs, they're going to get bored after 3 hours. For other dogs, it might actually be 5 hours.
Yeah.
So that's all on your lifestyle and how you manage it. I'm the same as you. A dog should fit into your lifestyle, and setting up a pretend lifestyle and then doing a switch and bait on. Like, halfway through isn't fair. So it should be how it is from the beginning.
Yeah.
So especially if you've got breeds that are prone to separation anxiety, you have everything, your behaviours have to bear that in mind, because you're going to make your life difficult as an adult. When you get the questions in your WhatsApp group that you don't really want to get involved with, do you find that other people answer the questions?
Absolutely. Also, all the other puppy owners, they all chip in. And obviously some of those puppy owners have had dogs and puppies before. Some of them are all first time ones, so it's just what's working for them. I always say to new owners, you'll be bombarded with all this information of what you shouldn't do for different situations, but you'll find your own way. So just because someone's saying that they adamantly will do this, that, whatever for this situation, someone else will say something and that might work for you. So you sort of need to take all the information you get with a pinch of salt and sort of find your own way. There's too much information out there, I think. And
now there is.
And it just makes it so hard. But I just think you just got to use common sense, and you just got to find your own way and just take all the information on board and just see what works with you, because all the puppies are all completely different, aren't they? And what works for one might not work for another one. So
it's far too many variables of trying to tie up the puppy's temperament, the family they've gone to, their family dynamics. It's impossible for you to know that from when they leave at 8 weeks old to go, this is exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It has to be an involving dynamic development that you hope everyone ends up happy with it at the end. And
I think what people don't realise as well is the puppies go at 8 weeks, but for half of that time, the puppies haven't even done anything. Their eyes and their ears and that don't open until like 2 weeks. So therefore, you've only as a breeder had the puppy for such a short period of time. It's not until they hit the 8-10 week mark and you take them home that they're really going to develop into themselves. And depending on what your situation is, whether you've got kids, whether you're at work, the puppy strives and all that stuff, rather than when it's so much with the breeder. So I think people just need to just see how the puppy fits in with them and just go from that.
Do you encourage any form of like puppy training that they should do in their own time?
I always say to people, especially first time puppy owners, to, even if it is just a basic puppy training class, to try and get a puppy booked in, just so that you know the basics. I always encourage them to try and find a puppy class before they take the puppies home, and to get a list of the commands that they get taught at puppy training classes, so that when they take the puppy home, they're using those commands already, so that when they go to puppy training classes, they're already one step ahead. There's no point in them, using their own commands and then go to a training class and then find out that the teacher will use something completely different. But I do encourage them.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Because I trained Spicy on a bad command for her to wait for her food, and I trained her on good girl, which is just a rubbish command because you say those words 1,000 other times as well. So unintentionally you just end up training to bad commands, and then you got to undo the work and redo it again. Exactly. And I'm all for, I totally agree with you in regards to puppy classes. Even for a bulldog that's as like untrainable as a dog could possibly want to be, it's just such a safe environment for your dog to engage and experience other dogs, rather than going to some crazy puppy party. I got sent a video of a bulldog puppy I sold at a dog daycare puppy party, and it basically got body slammed by a giant Schnauzer puppy.
Wow.
They're two totally inappropriate breeds to be running together. And then plus, obviously, like the Chihuahua and the French Bulldog and the this and the that. And I know if they're going to go to puppy parties, they need to be of the same breed or of the same size and stature.
Exactly.
You can't have giant puppies that are nearly 4 or 5 months running around with an 8-week-old Chihuahua.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. So I think puppy training classes are a much better, safer environment that you won't traumatise your puppy, because ultimately they end up with a reactive puppy that now they've got to do additional training with because of a bad experience it's been through.
Or a slightly shy puppy could be literally traumatised by going. It works in both ways. Or you end up with a puppy that's completely overstimulated because of what he's been to. I try and steer everyone away from the socialisation. Puppy parties, not good.
Wow. Right. I'm conscious of your time. So it's been amazing to talk to you and to find out how you do things in regards to managing your puppies from birth until they leave for the new homes and beyond. So I'm going to move on to the quick fire round. In regards to your puppy packs, do you find that they're OTT or do you like minimal?
They're OTT. They are, yes. But I think that's a good thing, because that means that everyone's got their information that they need. As in, I think I've been doing it long enough now. I don't get any questions generally after I've sent them out, so I think I've covered everything.
Right. Puppy contracts, yay or nay?
Yes, I do them.
Just out of interest, did you write your own or did you use a template?
A bit of both. So I think with the Labrador one, when I started, it was Kennel Club. And then when I did Cockapoos, obviously, because they're not pure breeds, I had to change it slightly. And now I would say they're probably a mash-up of both. And I think you learn to sort of like add and take bits in and out, as depending on which breed that you're doing. But yes, I do.
Mine's a mishmash now. I think the longer you breed, the more you pick bits up and say add things in and take stuff out. So that sounds fair enough. Puppy vaccinations, breeder or owner?
Owner.
So you don't vaccinate yours now anymore?
Not at all. No, I never have done. No.
How do you find owners? Are they receptive to that?
I think a lot of people expect it to be done, but I always explain, because puppies go far and wide, all vets use different brands. And if I get first jab done and it's not compatible, then the chances are that the vets that they take them to are going to have to start all over again. And therefore, puppy's got more vaccine than it needs. So to stop all that, I just say, when part of the thing on my contract is that they need to take their puppies to their vets within 72 hours to get it checked over. And whilst they're there, they can get first jab done.
Yep, fair enough. Puppy wait list, soothing or stressful?
Stressful. I mean, to be fair, once they're on the waiting list, it's generally not too bad. The bit before the waiting list can be very stressful. You do get a lot of time wasters.
Well, yeah, because it's a filtering process, isn't it? And you've got to try and gauge people and work them out. And if you're getting a lot of inquiries, it can be a lot of people. So I think it's never going to be particularly easy. But you say once you've got them confirmed, then life gets a bit easier. So
yeah,
it's quite
exactly.
Nice. When the puppies are 8 weeks old, are they ready to go or is it tears and heartbreak?
What, from me?
Yeah, from you.
100% ready to go.
I always laugh when the new owners are like, are you sad to see him go? And you're like, no.
Oh, you're devastated. No, they are ready to go.
I truly believe when you've got a really thorough vetting process and you know your puppy owners, you know the pups are going to the right place. And why would what is there to be tearful about? They're ready for their next journeys.
Exactly. See ya.
Do you find puppies easy or exhausting?
Easy until there's a problem.
I guess this is backed up with now you're in a breed that you like that works for you in the setup. So I guess that
it does make it easier.
Otherwise you would be feeling exhausted if you'd stayed in a breed that you just were constantly felt like you were sort of smashing your head against a brick wall. And then my final question is, how would you summarise breeding in one word?
It's rewarding.
That's nice. Oh, I like that. You're the first person. Most people have gone traumatising, a nightmare, all been really negative.
All of the above. But I think once, you've done it and all the pups are healthy and they're happy and they've got happy owners, I mean, you can't really ask for any more than that, can you? So, yeah, it may be hard work and traumatic, but, at the end of the day, it's rewarding.
Yeah, I think when you're creating new life, like you said earlier on about...
It amazes me every single time, even now, every single time a puppy's born, it's just like, wow. Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm always, how did you grow all of that in 9 weeks? That's
absolutely
crazy.
And how have all of those puppies come out of you when you didn't look very big at all? Just, it's just amazing.
Yeah, so biology is wonderful. And I guess that's sort of built into us from an evolutionary point of view in regards to humans and having kids. Like you say, people forget how much hard work a child is and then they go and do it again and then they wonder why they've done it. And I feel we go through the same as breeders. Hard work, but it was worth it. When you see all those families with really healthy, strong puppies and, taking the next step together, it's all worth it. So no, I like rewarding. I really like rewarding.
Okay.
So that's it. So I want to officially hand you your, which I've already done, haven't I, in person?
You did,
but
yes.
officially recognise you as the winner, as the top puppy parent. And I'm sure people that have listened will take a lot away from this conversation. It's not just within one sector, it's actually the whole breeding journey that you're exceeding in and going well beyond. And yeah, just for that to be recognised, and for hopefully people to pick up some of your killer tips and tricks and to try and put them into place themselves, and hopefully make their breeding journey a little bit easier, or enjoyable, or I don't know what else it can be. Rewarding, I suppose, is the word. Yes, to be more rewarding. But yeah, thank you ever so much for your time, energy, effort, and yeah, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you for all your help as well.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
What an insightful chat. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Sam's experience highlights the true realities of breeding, from navigating first litters to the critical role of vetting, owner education and structured puppy rearing. She shared her methods of socialisation, sleep training and offering breeder support without overstepping, along with her strong belief that a puppy should fit into her owner's lifestyle, not the other way round. Her dedication to raising well-rounded puppies is what earned her the Top Puppy Parent Award. I will add her website and social links to the show notes if you want to go and check out her page. Otherwise, thanks for listening. Until next time.
If you've resonated with this episode, you're already showing the mindset that matters the most. But great breeding isn't just about attitude, it's about understanding your breed, your specific circumstances, and where you are in the journey.
That's where a Brew Crew mentorship comes in. No one-size-fits-all advice, just personal, practical support shaped around you. Whether you're planning your first litter or refining your approach, we'll walk you through every step of the way.
So come on and join us at breedersbrew.com for tailored learning and a community that's raising the bar, one thoughtful, well-prepared litter at a time. Can't wait to see you there.